Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something that shapes our world in ways we barely notice. The things that can't be shipped, and maybe more importantly, the things that can never, ever be sold. Let's get right into it. So, let's start with a puzzle. What on earth could a haircut, a bag of gravel, and your closest friendship possibly have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup for a really weird joke, right? But the answer actually reveals this fundamental split in how our world works. A split that separates the global from the local and the priced from the priceless.
Okay, so first up, we're going to start our journey in the world of economics. We're going to look at this one core idea that explains something you've probably noticed yourself: why some things cost about the same no matter where you are, while other prices are just intensely local.
And the key idea here is what economists call non-tradable goods. Now, that sounds a little technical, but all it really means is these are items or services that just aren't traded internationally. So their price isn't set by some big global market. Nope. It's all about the supply and demand happening right there in your own backyard. Now, this is where it gets really clear. Just look at the contrast. A smartphone, its price is pretty much determined by the world market. But the price of a haircut or a meal at your favorite restaurant, that's all about local wages, local rent, local demand. You can stick a phone in a box and ship it halfway around the world, but you can't exactly ship a haircut, can you? The person giving the haircut and the person getting it have to be in the same room. Simple as that. And this idea applies to a whole range of things. You've got services that are physically stuck in one place, like construction, or utilities, like your electricity and water, which totally depend on the local infrastructure. But it also includes things with a really high weight-to-value ratio. And that brings us back to our trusty bag of gravel. It just makes absolutely no economic sense to ship something so heavy and so cheap across an ocean. It's just not worth it. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This line between what's tradable and what isn't, it's not always just about weight or distance. Sometimes the walls are completely invisible. And guess what? We're the ones who build them. That's right, the barriers can be entirely man-made. They're like these invisible economic walls that can take a globally traded product and turn it into something that's purely local. And here are three of the most common ways this happens. First, you've got high tariffs. You slap a huge tax on an imported car, and suddenly it's way too expensive to compete. The local market just kind of operates in its own little bubble. Then you have outright import bans. Japan, for instance, historically banned foreign rice. The result? The price inside Japan was determined entirely by what Japanese farmers could grow. And then there's this one, occupational licensing. If a florist from Louisiana, the only state that requires a license for that job, wants to move, they can't just take their skills with them. That service becomes non-tradable right across the state line. So, up to this point, we've been talking about things that are just, difficult or unprofitable to trade. But now we're going to take a huge leap. We're jumping from the world of economics right into the world of ethics and human relationships. I want you to really think about this for a second. What if there are things that aren't just non-tradable, but are fundamentally unsellable? I mean, things that cannot be bought or sold without being completely destroyed in the process. And this brings us to this really profound idea: non-transactable goods. We're talking about values here, like trust or loyalty or a genuine friendship. The moment you try to put a price tag on them, their very nature is corrupted. Their value isn't something you can find in a market. It's embedded in the very context of a specific human relationship. This quote just nails it. You can't just extract these values from the relationships that create them. If you believe you've purchased friendship, you might want to check the label, because what you've actually bought is something else entirely. So if these incredible things can't operate in the market economy, where do they live? Well, they live in what we can call the relationship economy, which, as it turns out, runs on a completely different currency. Let's call them personal relationship goods. They aren't outputs or products. They're the very fabric of our connections: love, genuine companionship, deep trust. You can't acquire them like commodities. They can only be co-created between people over time. This slide contrasts the two logics perfectly. A market exchange is impersonal. Its goal is a clean, immediate trade of equivalent value, and then you walk away. A gift exchange, though, that's totally different. It's personal. Its goal isn't the transaction, it's the relationship itself. And you don't immediately return a gift of the exact same value, because that would be an insult, right? It would feel like a refusal of the relationship. The real value is in the connection that's being built and maintained. I absolutely love this quote from the sociologist Marcel Mauss. It suggests that the logic of the gift, of trust and relationship building, actually had to come before the logic of the market. You simply cannot have trade without a baseline of social trust. The relationship economy is literally the foundation upon which the entire market economy is built. So why did we go on this whole journey from a bag of gravel to your best friendship? Because understanding this distinction between the transactable and the non-transactable is absolutely critical to a good life and a healthy society. So here's the crucial takeaway. We all live in two parallel economies. The market economy is a powerful, incredible engine for prosperity, but the relationship economy, that's the source of meaning, trust, and true human flourishing. They aren't enemies. We need both. The danger comes when we forget that boundary and when we try to apply the rules of the market to the sacred domain of human connection. And that leaves us with a final question to really think about. In a world that increasingly tries to put a price on everything, from our time to our attention, how do we build and protect those sacred spaces for the things that are and must remain priceless?